Hello and welcome back. I'm glad you found your way here again tonight. There's nothing you need to do right now except settle in and let your body grow heavy against the bed. Let your breathing slow. Let your thoughts loosen their grip on the day, the way a hand slowly opens. Tonight, we're drifting through the ruins of civilizations that rose, built astonishing things, and eventually, slowly, quietly faded. Grand wonders now lost to time and cities swallowed gently by jungle and sand. Some of what you hear tonight may surprise you. Some of it may simply settle over you like old stone, familiar and strange all at once. If any of this helps you unwind, consider subscribing to Drowsy with Facts so you can drift off with us again soon. For now, let's begin. Long ago, ancient travelers began compiling lists of the most impressive structures built by human hands, eventually settling on 7 wonders considered worthy of that highest praise. Of those 7, only 1 survives intact today. The other 6 exist now only in old writings, scattered fragments, and the quiet imagination of everyone who's ever wondered what they truly looked like. In the city of Babylon, ancient writers described an extraordinary garden rising in tiered terraces above the flat desert landscape, lush and green against an otherwise dry horizon, watered by an ingenious system said to lift water upward from the river below. No definitive physical trace of it has ever been confirmed by archaeologists, and some historians now wonder whether it existed exactly as described, or was located somewhere else entirely. One theory suggests the famous garden wasn't in Babylon at all, but farther north, built by a different ancient king entirely, and that the story became attached to the wrong city over centuries of retelling a small, quiet mix-up that turned into one of history's most enduring legends. On the island of Rhodes, an enormous bronze statue once stood at the harbor entrance, built to celebrate a successful defense against a long siege. Standing taller than most buildings of its era, it was toppled by an earthquake only a few decades after it was completed. Its bronze remains left lying on the ground for centuries afterward, before eventually being sold and melted down. Contrary to popular imagination, that statue almost certainly didn't straddle the harbor entrance with ships passing between its legs, an image that only became popular centuries later. Ancient engineering simply wouldn't have supported a pose like that, and most historians believe it stood instead in a more conventional standing position nearby. At Olympia, home of the ancient games, a massive seated statue of the king of the gods was crafted from ivory and gold layered over a wooden frame, so large that ancient visitors described the god's head nearly brushing the temple's ceiling. It was eventually lost, likely destroyed by fire centuries after it was built, known to us now only through descriptions and a handful of surviving coins showing its image. In the city of Ephesus, a grand temple dedicated to a goddess of the hunt was rebuilt multiple times after fires and floods, each version grander than the last, drawing pilgrims and traders from across the ancient world before being destroyed for the final time. Its remaining stones gradually scattered and reused in other buildings over the centuries that followed. A grand tomb built for a regional ruler in the ancient city of Halicarnassus became so famous for its scale and beauty that its name eventually became the general word still used today for any large, elaborate tomb. It stood for around 17 centuries before a series of earthquakes gradually brought it down entirely. And in the harbor of Alexandria, a towering lighthouse guided ships safely into port for centuries, its light said to be visible from a remarkable distance out at sea. Standing among the tallest structures in the entire ancient world, it eventually collapsed after repeated earthquakes, its remains resting for centuries afterward beneath the harbor's calm waters. Divers exploring that same harbor in more recent decades have recovered enormous fragments believed to belong to the lighthouse, including massive carved blocks and statue pieces, slowly piecing together a clearer picture of what one of the ancient world's tallest buildings might have actually looked like. Deep in the rainforests of Central America, an entire civilization built soaring stone pyramids, developed a sophisticated writing system, and tracked the movement of the stars with startling precision before many of their greatest cities were mysteriously abandoned centuries before European explorers ever arrived. The reasons behind that slow abandonment remain debated among historians, with theories ranging from prolonged drought to political upheaval to the exhaustion of nearby farmland, likely some careful combination of several pressures, building gradually over generations rather than any single sudden collapse. Their writing system, once thought completely undecipherable, has been slowly unlocked over the past several decades, revealing detailed historical records, royal genealogies, and accounts of wars and alliances between competing city-states scattered throughout the region. Their calendar system was remarkably sophisticated, tracking cycles of time across multiple overlapping systems simultaneously, some used for religious purposes, and others for tracking the movement of Venus and other celestial bodies with a precision that still impresses modern astronomers. Deep in the jungles of Southeast Asia, an enormous temple complex was constructed as the center of a sprawling capital city. Its precisely carved stone galleries, covered in detailed relief carvings depicting epic mythological battles and everyday scenes of ancient court life alike. The same temple complex was eventually abandoned as the capital shifted elsewhere, and the surrounding jungle slowly reclaimed the city around it over the following centuries, tree roots gradually wrapping around fallen stones until French explorers rediscovered it, overgrown and half hidden, in the 19th century. Recent surveys using laser mapping technology, capable of seeing through dense jungle canopy from above, have revealed that the city surrounding that temple was once far larger than previously believed, one of the most extensive urban settlements anywhere in the pre-industrial world. High in the mountains of South America, an Incan citadel was built with such precise stonework that many of its walls still stand today, without any mortar holding the massive stones together. Each block cut and fitted so exactly that a knife blade still can't slip between them. That same mountaintop city remained essentially unknown to the outside world for centuries after the fall of the Incan Empire, hidden by dense cloud forest and steep terrain, until an American explorer, guided by local farmers, brought international attention to it in the early 20th century. The Incan road system connecting cities like that one across the empire stretched for thousands of miles through some of the most difficult terrain on Earth, maintained by a relay system of runners capable of carrying messages across enormous distances remarkably quickly, entirely on foot. In the deserts of what's now Jordan, an ancient city was carved directly into rose-colored sandstone cliffs, its most famous facade rising dramatically at the end of a narrow, winding canyon entrance, catching the morning light in a way still capable of stopping visitors in their tracks today. That same desert city thrived for centuries as a wealthy trading hub, controlling routes that carried incense, spices, and silk between distant regions, before earthquakes and shifting trade routes gradually led to its slow decline and eventual abandonment. Sophisticated water channels carved carefully into the surrounding rock once carried water for many miles into that same desert city, supporting a thriving population in a landscape that receives very little rainfall. An impressive feat of ancient engineering, largely hidden from casual view. In southern Africa, an ancient stone city was built entirely without mortar, its massive curved walls constructed from carefully cut granite blocks stacked with remarkable precision. Once home to a thriving trading civilization whose full history was, for a long time, significantly underestimated by outside observers. Along the Indus River in South Asia, an ancient civilization built remarkably well-planned cities, featuring organized street grids and sophisticated drainage systems, centuries before many other ancient societies achieved anything comparable in urban planning. That same civilization's written script, found on small carved seals and other artifacts, has never been fully deciphered, and despite decades of effort by researchers, its exact language and meaning remains one of archaeology's most persistent unsolved puzzles. On a remote Pacific island, enormous stone statues were carved and transported across the landscape by a resourceful island civilization that eventually faced dramatic ecological pressures, straining the limited resources of one of the most isolated inhabited places on Earth. An ancient step structure at the heart of a Maya city was built with such careful astronomical alignment that on 2 specific days each year, the setting sun casts a shadow along its staircase resembling a great serpent descending toward the earth. Certain Maya cities featured sophisticated reservoir systems, carefully engineered to capture and store rainwater through the region's long dry seasons, revealing careful, patient environmental planning across generations of a civilization often remembered instead simply for its temples and pyramids. A vast trading network once connected cities across Mesoamerica long before any European contact, carrying goods like jade, feathers, cacao, and obsidian across enormous distances through a web of relationships between competing and cooperating city-states. The fall of the Western Roman Empire, often taught as a single dramatic collapse, actually unfolded gradually over more than a century, a slow accumulation of economic strain, political fragmentation, and external pressure rather than any single decisive event. Pompeii, a thriving Roman city, was buried suddenly beneath volcanic ash after a nearby mountain erupted with little warning, preserving homes, artwork, and everyday objects in remarkable detail, frozen in a single ordinary afternoon for nearly 2,000 years afterward. The eruption that buried Pompeii also preserved plaster cast impressions of the very last moments of the city's residents, created when archaeologists later poured plaster into the voids left behind in the hardened ash by decomposed bodies, capturing their final positions with haunting clarity. An enormous underground city was carved directly into soft volcanic rock in central Turkey, complete with ventilation shafts, stables, and living quarters capable of sheltering thousands of people at once, likely used at various points throughout history as a refuge during periods of conflict. The full extent of that underground city, along with several similar ones nearby, connected through tunnels stretching for miles beneath the surface, wasn't fully mapped and understood until relatively recent archaeological surveys. A vast network of ancient roads and paved highways once connected the far reaches of the Roman Empire, engineered with layered construction techniques so effective that sections of original Roman roads still survive intact and usable in parts of Europe today. Roman aqueducts carrying fresh water across enormous distances through a carefully calculated, gentle downward slope allowed cities far from natural water sources to support large populations, some of them still partially standing and visible today, after roughly 2,000 years. The ancient Library of Alexandria, though never formally listed among the Seven Wonders, was considered by many ancient writers to be one of the greatest achievements of the ancient world, housing what was likely the largest collection of written knowledge anywhere at the time. Its gradual loss, stretched across centuries through fires, neglect, and political upheaval, remains one of history's most mourned cultural losses. An incalculable amount of ancient knowledge simply fading away before it could ever be copied or preserved elsewhere. The Colosseum in Rome, still standing today despite centuries of earthquakes and stone robbing, once featured an elaborate system of underground chambers and lifts, allowing performers, animals, and scenery to be raised dramatically into the arena above during events. Beneath certain ancient Roman cities, extensive networks of catacombs were carved gradually into soft rock, used both for burials and, during periods of persecution, as quiet, hidden meeting places by early religious communities. An ancient Chinese emperor, upon his death, was buried with an entire army of life-sized clay soldiers, each one individually crafted with distinct facial features, standing guard in careful battle formation, deep underground for well over 2,000 years, before their accidental rediscovery by farmers digging a well. The full extent of that same emperor's tomb complex remains unexcavated even today, deliberately left undisturbed by archaeologists concerned about preserving delicate details that might be damaged the moment the site is properly opened using current techniques. The Great Wall of China, built and rebuilt across many centuries by different dynasties, stretches for a length so vast that its true total distance, including every branch and offshoot, wasn't fully and precisely surveyed until a comprehensive mapping project completed in relatively recent years. Ancient Nubian pyramids, built farther south along the Nile beyond Egypt's own borders, are more numerous than Egypt's pyramids combined, though considerably smaller and steeper, built by a lesser-known but long-lasting civilization that traded with, warred against, and at times even ruled over ancient Egypt itself. A sophisticated system of underground water channels dug gradually by hand across many generations once carried water for extraordinary distances beneath the deserts of ancient Persia, an engineering technique so effective that some of these ancient channels remain in quiet use even today. The lost city of Troy, once considered by many scholars to be pure legend, was eventually identified at a real archaeological site in modern Turkey, revealing multiple layered settlements built one atop another across thousands of years, evidence of ancient conflict woven somewhere among the actual historical record. An enormous stone terrace complex once served as a massive foundation platform in ancient Lebanon, incorporating some of the largest cut stone blocks ever used in ancient construction anywhere in the world. Their transport and placement still debated by engineers studying the site today. The ancient city of Carthage, once a powerful rival to Rome, was eventually defeated and largely destroyed after a long, difficult conflict. Its surviving population dispersed and its harbor filled in, though later Roman rebuilding on the same site preserved traces of the city for archaeologists to study centuries afterward. A vast, isolated stone city built high in the mountains of an ancient West African kingdom, controlled significant regional trade routes for centuries. Its full history, preserved partly through oral tradition and partly through gradual archaeological study of its remaining stone structures. The ancient Olmec civilization, predating the Maya by many centuries, carved massive stone heads believed to represent individual rulers, each one uniquely featured. Their exact method of transport across considerable distances without wheeled vehicles still studied by archaeologists today. Certain ancient Andean societies predating the Inca by many centuries built earlier ceremonial complexes and irrigation systems that later civilizations would build upon and refine, part of a much longer layered history of innovation across the region than is often popularly recognized. An ancient Minoan civilization centered on the island of Crete built elaborate multi-story palaces featuring surprisingly advanced plumbing and drainage systems before a combination of volcanic eruption and later invasion contributed to its eventual decline. That same volcanic eruption, among the largest in recorded human history, may have directly inspired later legends of a great and sudden lost civilization, myths that have echoed through storytelling for thousands of years since. The ancient Phoenicians, skilled sailors and traders, spread their alphabet across the Mediterranean through extensive trade contact, and that same alphabet eventually became a direct ancestor of the writing system used across much of the world today. Viking settlements briefly established a foothold in North America centuries before Columbus's voyages, evidenced by archaeological remains discovered at a coastal site in Newfoundland, a brief and ultimately abandoned chapter of transatlantic contact that predates the more famous later voyages by roughly 500 years. The ancient city of Petra's carved facades were created by skilled artisans working from the top of the cliff downward, carving carefully into the soft rock rather than building upward. An inverted construction process, very different from most ancient architecture. Certain ancient Mesopotamian cities built massive stepped temple towers, rising in tiers toward the sky, structures that likely later inspired biblical stories about an enormous tower built with the ambition of reaching the heavens themselves. The written language of ancient Sumer, pressed carefully into soft clay tablets using a wedge-shaped stylus, represents one of the very earliest writing systems in the world, used for everything from epic mythology to remarkably mundane inventories of grain, and livestock. Thousands of those same clay tablets have survived for thousands of years, simply because the cities that housed them eventually burned, accidentally hardening the clay into a durable, permanent record that softer, more perishable materials could never have preserved as well. An ancient Chinese bronze vessel tradition produced remarkably sophisticated ritual objects cast using complex multi-part molds, demonstrating metalworking skill that took Western civilizations considerably longer to independently develop. The ancient Nazca people, in addition to their famous desert line drawings, also built an impressive underground aqueduct system, channeling scarce water efficiently across an extremely dry landscape still in partial use by local farmers even today. Certain ancient Polynesian navigators crossed thousands of miles of open Pacific Ocean using only careful observation of stars, waves, and bird migration patterns, settling remote islands scattered across an enormous stretch of open water with remarkable precision and no instruments at all. The ancient city of Babylon, home to that legendary garden, was also home to one of the earliest known formal law codes, carved into a tall stone pillar and displayed publicly, establishing a detailed set of rules and corresponding punishments for the society to follow. An ancient Hittite empire, centered in what's now Turkey, rivaled Egypt and Babylon in power for centuries before fading from prominence. Its capital city eventually abandoned and largely forgotten until archaeologists rediscovered its ruins in more recent history. The ancient city of Ur, one of the oldest cities in the world, featured an enormous stepped temple platform at its center, partially restored in more recent decades, offering visitors today a glimpse of a structure that was already considered remarkably ancient by the time Babylon rose to prominence. A quiet mystery persists around the exact reasons several major Bronze Age civilizations across the Eastern Mediterranean collapsed within roughly the same general period. A widespread disruption still debated by historians, likely caused by some combination of drought, famine, migration, and cascading political instability. Certain ancient societies left behind almost no written record at all, known to us now only through careful archaeological study of pottery, tools, and burial sites. Entire cultures reconstructed slowly and patiently from fragments rather than any story they told about themselves directly. The ancient city of Ephesus, home to that lost temple, also featured an enormous public library, its elegant carved facade partially reconstructed and still standing today, offering a rare, tangible glimpse into the grand civic architecture ancient cities once took such evident pride in building. Long after most of the ancient wonders had crumbled, medieval and Renaissance writers continued to be fascinated by descriptions of them, compiling their own lists and imagining, often quite creatively, what these lost marvels must have truly looked like in their prime. In the highlands of ancient Ethiopia, a powerful trading kingdom raised enormous carved stone obelisks to mark royal burial sites, some rising taller than almost any other single carved stone monument anywhere in the ancient world, connecting trade routes between Africa, Arabia, and the wider Mediterranean for centuries. That same kingdom minted its own coins, developed its own written script still used in the region today. and converted to Christianity remarkably early, becoming one of the first major kingdoms anywhere in the world to formally adopt the faith. On the remote Pacific island already mentioned for its towering stone figures, researchers continue to debate exactly how severely the island's original forests declined before European contact, with newer research suggesting the story may be more complicated than a single dramatic collapse, involving a combination of factors playing out gradually over generations. Farther east, a rival to the Great Library of Alexandria was built in the ancient city of Pergamon, said to have grown so impressive that Alexandria's own rulers, worried about the competition, restricted the export of the writing material. Scholars relied on most, inadvertently pushing the rival city to develop an early form of parchment instead. In the Syrian desert, another spectacular caravan city thrived for centuries as a wealthy waypoint along ancient trade routes. Its grand colonnaded streets and elaborate temples, reflecting a unique blend of Roman, Persian, and local architectural styles, found almost nowhere else in the ancient world. The ancient Persian capital of Persepolis, built as a ceremonial center for a vast empire, featured grand stone stairways carved with detailed processions of tribute bearers from across the empire's many regions, before the city was burned during a military campaign led by a famous Macedonian conqueror. Among the many scholars who once worked at the Great Library of Alexandria, one calculated the circumference of the earth with remarkable accuracy, using nothing more than the length of shadows cast in two different cities and some careful geometry, an extraordinary achievement for its time. The Aztec capital city, built on an island in the middle of a great lake, was connected to the surrounding shore by several wide causeways and crisscrossed internally by canals, leading early European visitors to compare it, in awed writing, to the great canal cities of Europe. That same city fed its large population partly through an ingenious farming technique, building small artificial islands from layered mud and vegetation anchored to the lake bed. Remarkably productive plots that allowed the city to sustain far more people than the surrounding land alone could have supported. The Aztec calendar, carved into a massive circular stone monument, combined intricate religious symbolism with practical timekeeping, and though often mistakenly described as a simple calendar, likely served a broader ceremonial and astronomical purpose within Aztec religious life. The Inca, lacking a traditional written script, developed an alternative system instead, recording numerical and possibly narrative information using elaborately knotted and colored cords, a method still only partially understood by researchers working to decode its full complexity today. In what's now the central United States, an enormous ancient city once rose along the Mississippi River, home to thousands of residents and massive earthen mounds built entirely by hand, representing one of the largest urban settlements anywhere in the Americas prior to European contact, largely abandoned centuries before explorers ever arrived. Farther west, an ancient Puebloan society built elaborate multi-story stone complexes deep in a desert canyon, aligning many of their structures with careful precision towards significant solar and lunar events, evidence of sophisticated astronomical observation passed down across many generations. In Ireland, an ancient passage tomb was constructed with such precise alignment that sunlight floods directly into its inner chamber only on the morning of the winter solstice. A deliberate design achievement completed well over 5,000 years ago, predating the pyramids of Giza by several centuries. On the windswept coast of Scotland, an ancient stone village lay buried and perfectly preserved beneath sand dunes for thousands of years, undiscovered until a fierce storm stripped away the covering sand, revealing stone furniture, hearths and passageways, essentially intact after so many thousands of years underground. Across the island of Sardinia, thousands of unique conical stone towers were built by an ancient civilization for purposes still debated by archaeologists. Some believed to have served defensive functions, others possibly religious or astronomical, scattered so densely across the landscape that new examples continue to be identified even now. Long before Rome rose to prominence, an earlier civilization in central Italy developed sophisticated art, engineering, and religious practices of its own, eventually being absorbed into the expanding Roman world. Much of their original language remains only partially understood even today, adding a quiet layer of mystery to a civilization that heavily influenced early Rome. In the Bronze Age Aegean, a powerful Greek civilization built fortified palace complexes and elaborate gold burial masks, later inspiring the epic poetry and legendary tales that would shape Greek mythology for centuries afterward. Their real history and the myths built upon it now woven together almost inseparably. The famous gold burial mask, often associated with a legendary Greek king, was, in truth, crafted centuries before that particular king would have lived, if he existed at all. A small chronological mismatch that continues to fascinate historians, studying where legend and archaeology quietly diverge. Along the historic trade routes connecting east and west, camel caravans carried silk, spices, and countless other goods across thousands of miles of desert and mountain terrain, exchanging not just goods but ideas, religions, and technologies between distant, otherwise unconnected civilizations. In West Africa, an ancient city became one of the most significant centers of learning and scholarship in the medieval world, home to enormous libraries and universities that attracted scholars from across the region. Its manuscripts on subjects ranging from astronomy to law still being preserved and studied today. Skilled artisans in the West African kingdom of Benin created remarkably detailed bronze plaques and sculptures using sophisticated casting techniques. Historical objects that today serve as some of the most important surviving records of the kingdom's own royal history. The ancient stone city, built without mortar in southern Africa, already mentioned earlier, gave its name to the modern nation that now preserves and celebrates its ruins. A rare example of a country directly named after an ancient archaeological site within its own borders. Certain ancient civilizations developed remarkably accurate calendars independently of one another, arriving at surprisingly similar solutions to the challenge of tracking the year's length, a quiet testament to how carefully ancient peoples across the world observed the sky above them. The true scale of trade in the ancient world is often underestimated, and archaeological finds routinely reveal goods that traveled astonishing distances. Silk from China recovered in ancient Roman ruins, and Baltic amber found in ancient Egyptian tombs. hinting at webs of contact far wider than once assumed. Certain ancient cities were deliberately built with defensive considerations as a central priority, perched on hilltops or surrounded by elaborate walls and ditches, their layouts still readable today as a kind of frozen record of what a given society feared most at the time it was built. The gradual decline of many ancient civilizations often left behind enough physical evidence that historians can now piece together fairly detailed pictures of decline, drought, and rebuilding, though the exact human experience of living through such a slow transformation remains, naturally, much harder to fully reconstruct. Certain ancient societies practiced remarkably sophisticated metallurgy long before it was assumed possible, smelting and working metals using techniques that were, in some cases, independently developed continents apart from one another, with no possible contact between the two. The written records left behind by ancient scribes, whether carved into stone, pressed into clay, or painted onto papyrus, offer modern historians an enormous but still incomplete window into ancient daily life, weighted heavily toward the wealthy and powerful, who were simply far more likely to have their words preserved at all. Certain ancient cities have been continuously inhabited for thousands of years, each new generation building directly atop the ruins of the last, creating deep, layered archaeological sites where each level downward represents a further step back through the passage of time. The gradual rediscovery of lost ancient sites, whether through accidental discovery, careful survey, or in recent decades, satellite and laser mapping technology, continues even now, and archaeologists widely agree that many more significant sites likely remain completely unknown, waiting quietly beneath jungle, sand, or simple, ordinary farmland. The ancient Etruscan cities scattered across central Italy buried their dead in elaborately painted tombs, decorated with vivid scenes of feasting, music, and daily life, offering modern historians one of the richest visual records available of any pre-Roman Italian culture. Certain ancient trade goods traveled such enormous distances that their final resting place can seem almost implausible, and archaeologists continue to be surprised by exactly how interconnected the ancient world truly was long before anything resembling modern transportation existed. The ancient city of Nineveh, once among the largest and most powerful cities in the world, housed an enormous royal library containing tens of thousands of clay tablets, later rediscovered largely intact after the city itself was destroyed, preserving an extraordinary snapshot of ancient Mesopotamian scholarship. Certain ancient societies developed early forms of concrete and mortar independently of Rome, using locally available volcanic ash or other binding materials, quietly solving similar engineering challenges in different corners of the world without any shared knowledge between them. The city of Palenque, one of many great Maya centers, is known for its elegant, refined architecture and detailed hieroglyphic inscriptions, recording the genealogy and accomplishments of its ruling dynasty in unusually rich detail compared to many neighboring cities. A vast trade network once connected the ancient societies of the North American Southwest with cultures deep in Mesoamerica, evidenced by the discovery of tropical bird feathers, cacao residue, and other goods far from their point of origin, hinting at long-distance relationships not widely appreciated until relatively recent archaeological study. Certain massive ancient earthworks, built by depositing enormous quantities of soil by hand over generations, form deliberate geometric and animal shapes visible clearly today only from the air. Their exact ceremonial or astronomical purpose still debated among researchers studying the people who built them. The ancient kingdom of Kush, south of Egypt along the Nile, eventually grew powerful enough to conquer and rule over Egypt itself for a period. Its pharaohs recorded in Egyptian history alongside native Egyptian rulers. A reminder that ancient power along the Nile flowed in more than one direction over the centuries. Certain ancient civilizations left behind almost no permanent architecture at all, favoring more portable, adaptable ways of living suited to their environment, and their material legacy survives, instead mostly through tools, artwork, and burial practices carefully studied by archaeologists, piecing together their story. The ancient Chavin culture, predating both the Inca and earlier Andean societies already mentioned, built an elaborate ceremonial center featuring underground galleries and finely carved stone imagery, influencing religious and artistic traditions across the region for centuries afterward. Deep beneath certain modern cities, layers of earlier settlements lie buried directly under still active streets and buildings, occasionally uncovered unexpectedly during ordinary construction work, offering brief accidental glimpses into a city's own, much older history. The ancient Assyrian Empire, known for both its military campaigns and its sophisticated administration, maintained an extensive network of roads and messenger relay stations, allowing information to travel across its vast territory with a speed that impressed even later empires that inherited similar infrastructure challenges. Certain ancient societies developed early forms of paved roads and organized urban sanitation systems far earlier than commonly assumed, managing waste and water flow through careful civic planning that wouldn't look entirely out of place in a much later era. The ancient Olmec civilization is sometimes referred to by historians as a foundational culture for much of later Mesoamerican civilization, its artistic and religious influence appearing in various forms in societies that rose long after the Olmec themselves had faded from prominence. Certain lost cities were never truly lost to the people living nearby at all, remaining known through local memory and oral tradition, even while remaining unknown or unrecognized by distant scholars and map makers for centuries. A quiet reminder of how knowledge can be simultaneously preserved and overlooked. The ancient Nazca lines, alongside their underground aqueducts, sit within a broader landscape of ceremonial sites and settlements that archaeologists continue to study as a connected whole rather than a single isolated mystery, gradually building a fuller picture of daily Nazca life beyond just the famous lines themselves. Certain ancient burial practices involved elaborate, carefully constructed tombs meant to be visited and maintained by descendants for generations, reflecting a belief that connection to ancestors remained an active, ongoing relationship rather than something that ended simply at death. The gradual decline of the Western Roman Empire didn't erase Roman influence so much as scatter and transform it. And Roman law, language, architecture, and infrastructure continued shaping European civilization for well over 1,000 years after the empire itself had formally ended. Certain ancient civilizations left behind sophisticated astronomical observatories built with nothing more than carefully placed stone markers, allowing priests or astronomers to track solstices, equinoxes, and other celestial events with an accuracy that still impresses researchers studying these sites today. The story of any lost civilization in the end is rarely a story of sudden disappearance. Almost always, it's a much slower, quieter story of gradual change, of population shifting, adapting, or moving on, leaving behind stone and memory for someone, centuries later, to patiently piece back together. And so tonight, we leave these lost wonders and vanished cities exactly where time has left them. Quiet, mostly gone, remembered now only in fragments, stories, and the patient work of those still slowly piecing their history back together. Beneath the waters of the Mediterranean, entire ancient harbor districts and coastal settlements have gradually slipped beneath rising sea levels over thousands of years, their remaining foundations now resting quietly on the seafloor, occasionally explored by divers piecing together what these vanished waterfronts once looked like. The ancient city of Leptis Magna, built along the North African coast, grew into one of the most elaborate cities in the entire Roman world, before gradually being abandoned as trade routes and regional priorities shifted. Its marble columns and grand arches, left standing quietly for centuries, eventually half buried by drifting desert sand. Certain lost civilizations are known to us today almost entirely through what they left behind in death rather than life. Elaborate tombs and burial goods offering historians far more detail than the comparatively humble, perishable materials of their everyday homes and belongings ever could. The ancient Xi'an region of China, home to the buried terracotta army, also served as the starting point for the great trade routes stretching westward, making it one of the most significant and continuously important cities anywhere in the ancient world for well over 1,000 years. Certain ancient trade goods, once considered enormously valuable, held worth almost impossible to imagine today. And specific dyes, spices, and rare stones were, for a time, worth more by weight than gold itself, driving exploration and trade across staggering distances. The gradual translation and decipherment of lost ancient scripts remains an active, ongoing field even now, and researchers continue slowly working through partially understood writing systems from several lost civilizations, occasionally making small but meaningful breakthroughs that add new detail to the historical record. Certain ancient cities were rebuilt so many times atop their own ruins that modern archaeologists studying them must work through the layered remains of dozens of distinct historical periods, stacked directly on top of one another, each layer telling a slightly different chapter of the same city's long story. The ancient Maya practiced a distinctive ritual ball game played in specially built stone courts found across many of their cities, a game that combined athletic competition with a deep religious and cosmological significance. Its exact rules still pieced together carefully from surviving artwork and later historical accounts. Certain ancient societies developed remarkably advanced textile traditions, and fragments of dyed and woven cloth, though far more fragile and rarely preserved compared to stone or pottery, occasionally survive in unusually dry or oxygen-free conditions, offering a rare glimpse into a craft central to daily life across nearly every ancient culture. The concept of a golden age, a distant idealized past, superior to the present, appears again and again across many separate ancient cultures, each looking back fondly on their own imagined earlier era, a pattern historians find almost as fascinating as the specific lost civilizations themselves. Even now, farmers, construction crews, and ordinary people going about everyday tasks occasionally stumble upon significant archaeological discoveries entirely by accident, a quiet reminder that the layered, patient history of the ancient world still rests in places just beneath the surface of the ordinary present. The same ancient world that once raised towering statues and grand temples is, right now, simply resting beneath centuries of sand and soil and jungle growth. Somewhere an old stone is settling further into the earth. Somewhere, a forgotten wall is quietly crumbling by another fraction of an inch. And none of it needs anything from you right now, except your rest. You've drifted tonight through lost gardens and fallen statues, through buried cities and quiet ruins, past civilizations that rose, built remarkable things and gently, slowly faded. The whole vast, patient story of everything we've built and lost, resting now beneath the weight of all the centuries since. Let it hold you now, the way it's always held everything else. Let your breathing settle into its own slow rhythm. There's nowhere else you need to be. Nothing else you need to understand tonight. Just this quiet history and this quiet rest, drifting gently together in the dark. Sleep well, and I'll see you next time for another 100 facts, drifting softly into sleep.